in the end, I would advocate for a hard money because it's what's been around for, what, 5,000 years or something. Gold has never lost its value. Silver has never lost its value. Oh, and as to the semantics of it, the idea of a gold standard is just that there is this hard currency that the federal government backs the currency with, or the currency that would be used in daily exchange. Though it doesn't have to be gold. It could be silver, it could be iron. It's just the principle of the idea that it's not just paper that's in circulation, because paper can be created out of thin air. And that's exactly what happens with the fiat currency as it is. So, and the hard money idea is the same exact idea. It's just a backing. You know, it doesn't mean that we have a gold standard or whatever. It's just that it's backed with a metal, an elemental metal at that. The reason why I say that is because steel is something that is created by man. It's the same idea as paper, actually, in my opinion. So what has to happen is we have gold, silver, those are the two constitutional currencies at least, but iron, titanium, platinum, whatever. Anyway, so that's what was asked of me, so enough of that. So again, if you have any questions, call me. Hopefully I can answer it. I also implore you to check out Mises.org. They talk about, or they are pretty much the only institution that talks about Austrian economics. And, you know, so check out Lou Rockwell, Tom Woods, who else? Walter Block, these people. Anyway, I was also just talking about the idea of property rights on an economic scale, at least. And I was talking about this with Kate in back. So I want to talk about sort of the idea of income tax, licensing, all this other stuff. The idea is that you own your body, right? The principal argument of a libertarian in the first place is that you own yourself. Nobody else should tell you what to do. Period. End of story. No government should tell you what to do at all. The only time it should ever have an interference is when a crime is committed, as in theft, murder, because your body's now gone, right? It's a violation of your property. Theft, it's obviously a violation of your property. Therefore, if you own your house, your car, your gun, marriage, if you own your own, you know, it's a contract between two people, so the two of you are in contract, not the government. The government's not involved there. Anyway, gun rights, all of this stuff comes from property rights. Individualism is what it is. So licensing, the principle is that the only reason why the government can tell you what to do with your car or any of this is that they actually own it. And they don't. In principle, they don't. You own your car, not the government. And if it does own the car, then it can tell you what to do. This is the argument as to why licensing actually exists, is because they, in part, own it. This is actually the same exact argument as to income tax. Income tax, apparently they own your labor and your body apparently as well. In effect, one would say you're a slave. Ron Paul has said this many times actually. this is involuntary servitude. You know, so the idea is that you're voluntarily complying with your income tax, but you are actually compelled to pay your income tax, and correctly as well. So apparently they own your labor. And this is why so many libertarians advocate getting rid of the income tax, abolishing licensing completely, because apparently they own everything that they license. You know, your car, your marriage, apparently they own your marriage as well. Your gun, all of this. But the reason why they do it is for the general safety. Well, what's the big deal about a marriage? Here's a good point. What's the point of licensing a marriage? Is there really any safety involved? Or is this just a remnant of the 1860s and the Civil War at that? So, this is the argument as to getting rid of licensing, because, and getting rid of these speeding limits, everything on that. So the only time the government should get involved, in a libertarian fashion at least, is when you commit some kind of violation on your property. So if you crash, then the insurance companies and the government gets involved legitimately. If but if you were to crash against nobody, you know, like if you were to crash into a tree because you're drunk, then that's all your responsibility. The insurance companies would probably not pay for it unless somehow it stipulates it in their clauses. And the government should not be involved because you didn't violate anybody's property unless you crash into somebody's house. Then obviously you violated somebody's property. The government should be involved. And, you know, so, you know, and if actually, even in that case, maybe not. Because if the insurance companies can take care of it, and the people themselves, then the government should stay out of that as well. So, there's absolutely, in my opinion, no reason for licensing of cars, no, you know, registering every year or whatever. That's the argument. And, okay, in a minarchist fashion, one who would say, you know, a minarchist type of libertarian kind of guy, you know, kind of like conservative even, we should abolish the income tax, though it's pretty arguable as to having a sales tax, but property tax as well, excise tax, there shouldn't be a yearly excise tax either. There should definitely not be an income tax. There shouldn't be... all of these things did not exist when the founders created this country. They lived off of, what was it, 10% GDP as opposed to 50 or something like that? I don't remember the numbers. But, you know, it was much smaller and it worked. There's no reason why all these things can't work. Never mind the fact that the reason why we have an income tax, according to, you know, many statists at this point, is for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, Amtrak, all this stuff, but it's not necessary. Never mind the fact that it doesn't work and it's broke. People that are going to get Social Security benefits right now are going to get very little. A, because of inflation, B, because it doesn't work anyway, and it's going in the red this year. Let's get rid of it. But what I was getting at is that the income tax actually pays for the interest on the debt to the Federal Reserve. That's what it's created for. Look up the history. 1913, three things happened. income tax, Federal Reserve, and the 17th Amendment, which says that the Senate must be picked by majority vote as opposed to the legislatures of the states.